Alauddin Khalji was amongst the most powerful sultans of the Khalji dynasty. His death in 1316 CE caused a lot of political turmoil and chaos in the Delhi Sultanate. Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq killed the last Khalji ruler in 1320 CE and founded a new dynasty called the Tughlaq Dynasty. This dynasty ruled India for the greater part of the 14th century. It produced two powerful sultans, Muhammad bin Tughlaq and Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, 1320 to 1325 CE, was the first ruler of the Tughlaq dynasty. He was the son of a Turkish father and an Indian mother. Ghiyasuddin was an efficient administrator and a capable military commander. He introduced several reforms for the welfare of his subjects and suppressed revolts in distant provinces. By his able leadership, he restored peace and stability in the Delhi Sultanate. Ghiyasuddin died in what appeared to be a deliberately planned accident. He was succeeded by his son Jona Khan, who ascended the throne under the title of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Muhammad bin Tughlaq ruled from 1324 to 1351 CE. He was one of the most learned and accomplished scholars of his time. His intellectual curiosity and thirst for knowledge was immense. Gifted with an extraordinary memory and a keen intellect, he had mastered logic, philosophy, mathematics, astronomy, and physical sciences. Muhammad was a lover of Persian literature and poetry, calligraphy, fine arts, and music. A skilled military commander, he loved the company of learned men. Ancient historians have different perceptions about the nature of Muhammad's character. The severe contradictions in his personality led some historians to believe that he was a lunatic or a wisest fool. However, there were others who saw the genius in him and felt he was a great visionary and idealist. Muhammad was a diligent ruler and undertook many projects for the development of his kingdom. These projects were brilliantly conceived. However, due to lack of practical judgment, they were poorly executed and always ended in failure. Let us look at some of the reforms he implemented during his rule. Muhammad bin Tughlaq realized that it was important to possess a strong and powerful army to strengthen and secure his position as a ruler. To increase his military resources, he needed additional revenue. To increase revenue collection, he increased the land tax in the fertile region of the Ganga-Yamuna Doab. Unfortunately, the rains failed and a severe famine broke out. Due to this, the people of the kingdom refused to pay the enhanced taxes imposed. The tax collector showed no mercy and continued to collect the taxes with such rigor that the peasants were ruined. In order to escape the tyranny of the tax collectors, the peasants abandoned their lands and fled to the jungles. Realizing the gravity of the situation, the Sultan ordered relief measures such as free kitchens, loans to farmers, and improved irrigation facilities. However, these remedial measures were implemented too late as agriculture had suffered a severe setback. Ultimately, the Sultan had to withdraw his orders. In 1327, Muhammad bin Tughlaq transferred the capital of his kingdom from Delhi to Devgiri, which he renamed as Daulatabad. Two major reasons prompted the Sultan to take this decision: central location and Mongol invasions. With the expansion of the Delhi Sultanate into the Deccan, Daulatabad was centrally located and nearly equidistant from Delhi and other important places. This would help the Sultan to administer and control his kingdom in a more efficient manner. Repeated Mongol attacks posed a great threat to Delhi. Daulatabad was safe from the invaders. According to the contemporary historian Ibn Battuta, the Sultan ordered the transfer of not only his court and the officials, but of the entire population of the kingdom. Elaborate arrangements were made for the 1,500 kilometers journey. A broad road was built with trees and temporary huts on both sides. Provisions were made for the supply of free food and drinks during the journey. The journey from Delhi to Daulatabad was long and arduous, with many people dying on the way. The weary and homesick survivors could not adjust to the new and alien conditions of the new capital. In the absence of the Sultan, Delhi was now exposed to renewed attacks by the Mongols. Realizing his error in judgment, the Sultan shifted his capital back to Delhi after 2 years. The suffering and mental agony of the people caused great resentment amongst them. The failure of his experiment was a major blow to the prestige of the empire. It had drained the treasury and reduced the grand and prosperous capital of Delhi to a mere shadow of its former self. Daulatabad, a monument of misdirected energy, became a deserted city. The failure of the Sultan's schemes had led to a heavy drain on the royal treasury. To overcome this financial crisis, he introduced a token currency in 1329 CE. As there was worldwide shortage of silver coins during this period, copper coins were issued by the Sultan. People were ordered to use these token coins in all their transactions. As these coins had the same value as gold and silver coins, they could be exchanged for silver coins at any time from the royal treasury. Muhammad, however, failed to ensure that the minting of coins remained as a monopoly of the government. The design of the coins was simple enough for ordinary craftspeople to copy and mint illegally. People bought copper and brass that were easily available at cheap rates and started minting at home. Every house became a mint and people started making counterfeit coins. There were no arrangements made by the Sultan to check the minting and circulation of fake coins. The kingdom was flooded with forged coins. As a result, foreign merchants refused to accept token currency. Trade activities severely diminished and money lost its value. People used fake coins to pay government taxes, which had adverse effects on the economy, leading it to collapse. The Sultan had to give silver coins in exchange of the forged ones, which further diminished the treasury. Left with no choice, Muhammad had to withdraw the token currency system. Though the idea was progressive and ahead of its times, the token currency system failed due to its shoddy and faulty execution. The government resources and the prestige of the Sultan suffered a serious blow. Let us summarize all the important points that we have learnt in the lesson, the Tughlaq Dynasty, Part 1. Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq in 1320 CE. This dynasty ruled India for the greater part of the 14th century. It produced two powerful sultans, Muhammad bin Tughlaq and Firoz Shah Tughlaq. In this lesson, we will learn more about the ruler Firoz Shah Tughlaq, his nature, and the reforms he introduced. Firoz Shah Tughlaq was the cousin of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He felt that Muhammad had failed to consolidate his hold over the empire because he did not have the support of the nobles and the ulemas. Firoz Shah Tughlaq won over the nobles and was nominated as the successor of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. His primary objective was the welfare of his subjects. In order to please the nobles of his court, he gave them big iqtas which were made hereditary, and to please the ulemas, he imposed Islamic laws. The ulemas and nobles soon grew powerful and influenced the policies of the Sultanate. Firoz Shah Tughlaq's 37 years reign is distinguished for the numerous welfare schemes that he introduced to improve the economic condition of his subjects and promote material prosperity. Firoz Shah was known as a reformer king, as he introduced many reforms for the betterment of his kingdom. On his orders, land taxes were reduced in the Doab. Loans given during the famine were cancelled and many taxes were abolished. Old canals of the kingdom were repaired and new canals were built. Hundreds of wells were sunk and a number of dams were constructed which helped improve agricultural activity. The increased agricultural production made the peasants happy. Firoz Shah started many schemes to improve the living conditions of his subjects. He built rest houses for travelers and traders and set up free hospitals for the poor. He established a charity department for the benefit of the widows, orphans, and other needy people. An employment bureau was set up that provided jobs to the unemployed. A separate department was set up to look after the slaves. Firoz Shah made changes to the judicial system and made it humane. A savage system of torture that included cutting off of hands and feet, tearing out the eyes, and pouring molten lead down the throat existed during those days. Firoz Shah abolished this system of torture of suspected criminals. The suspects found to be guilty were also given mild punishments. Firoz Shah was a great builder of works of public utility. He built many towns such as Jaunpur, Firozabad in Firoz Shah Kotla, Firozpur, Hisar in modern Haryana, and Firozabad in modern Uttar Pradesh. He laid out 1,200 gardens and orchards around Delhi. These orchards produced so much fruit that it became a rich source of revenue for the state treasury. Firoz Shah promoted education and learning and built many schools and colleges. Learned scholars were asked to translate Hindu religious texts, books on music, etc. from Sanskrit into Persian. Even though Firoz Shah was a great leader, he lacked in basic military skills. He showed no interest in recovering all the provinces that had become independent during the reign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. His feeble attempts to recover Bengal ended in failure. The death of Firoz Shah was followed by the disintegration of the Delhi Sultanate. One by one, all the captured provinces declared their independence. Only Punjab and the area around Delhi remained in the hands of the Tughlaq Dynasty. The final blow to the Sultanate was dealt by Amir Timur or Timur Lane, the Mongol ruler of Samarkand in Central Asia. Taking advantage of the weak Tughlaq rule, Timur invaded India to plunder its wealth. He invaded India and looted Delhi. His army massacred thousands of innocent men, women, and children. With the loot he collected, he beautified his capital Samarkand with elegant buildings, palaces, and mosques. Before leaving Delhi, Timur had appointed Khizar Khan as his deputy in India. Khizar Khan established the Sayyid dynasty in 1414 CE, bringing an end to the distinguished Tughlaq dynasty. Let us summarize all the important points that we have learnt in the lesson, the Tughlaq Dynasty Part 2. Muhammad bin Tughlaq and Firoz Shah Tughlaq were amongst the most powerful sultans of the Tughlaq dynasty. Muhammad bin Tughlaq was an accomplished scholar and skilled military commander. Muhammad implemented many reforms and undertook many expeditions for the betterment of his kingdom and to generate revenues for his army. Muhammad bin Tughlaq dreamt of establishing a world empire. For this purpose, he decided to conquer Khorasan, Persia or present-day Iran, and Iraq. A huge army was mobilized and equipped. To secure the northern tiers of the Sultanate, Muhammad bin Tughlaq sent an army to the Kangra region, modern Himachal Pradesh. After successfully annexing this region, the army proceeded towards Tibet. In the battle that followed, the Sultan's army suffered heavy casualties and only 10 soldiers returned to Delhi. To expand the empire, Muhammad decided to conquer Khorasan in Central Asia. He raised a large army and spent a lot of money on weapons and other war supplies. The soldiers were also given 1 year's salary in advance as an incentive. However, a year later, the project was abandoned because the Sultan realized that it would not be easy to send such a large army across the snowy Himalayan passes. The soldiers so recruited were disbanded. This drawback caused a huge depletion of the royal treasury. Muhammad's experiments and poorly executed schemes had exhausted the treasury and undermined the prestige and position of the Sultan. Revolts broke out in all parts of the Sultanate. The Rana of Mewar recovered Ranthambore and Chittor and built a powerful kingdom in Rajasthan. In the south, 2 new kingdoms were established, the Hindu Vijayanagar kingdom and the Muslim Bahmani kingdom. The Deccan, South India, Bengal and Sindh gained their independence and emerged as strong empires. Most historians have attributed the cause for the failure of Muhammad's schemes to his personality and character. He lacked practical sense and was whimsical and unpredictable. Some others felt that Muhammad bin Tughlaq was not personally responsible for his failure. His projects failed because of the conditions and prejudices of the people of his times. People were backward and not receptive to new ideas and radical reforms. The ulemas and nobles did not support his schemes because he opposed their interference in the affairs of the state. After a reign of 25 years, Muhammad died in 1351 CE, leaving the Tughlaq dynasty in a state of collapse and disintegration. Let us summarize all the important points that we have learnt in the lesson, the Tughlaq Dynasty Part 3.